Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Rewind That. It's your girl Miss K. If this is your first time coming across my channel, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe if you like the vibe and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Alright guys, of course we know that Barbie is iconic, right? And she has been around forever, and by forever, I mean since her first appearance on the market in 1959. So yeah, she's iconic. But now that the Barbie movie is out, it seems like everything Barbie is coming to the surface, right? Like everywhere I look, it's Barbie, 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 okay? So as everything that has to do with Barbie is surfacing, so has this documentary of the Ken and Barbie killers, all right? So guys, when this documentary showed up on my screen, I was intrigued immediately, and I thought to myself, wow, what an auspicious time for this documentary to be showing up as a suggestion, right? Now, don't get me wrong, it's not an old documentary because it came out in 2021, but I honestly don't think this would have happened if the Barbie movie didn't come out, okay? But anyway, here we are, guys. We're here to discuss these disgusting human beings that are known as the Ken and Barbie killers. I must warn you that this content is considered twisted, shocking, and disturbing. And yes, it truly is, guys, all right? But here we go. Okay, guys, so in the later part of 1987, most likely in October, Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka meet at a hotel bar because they were both attending a convention at that hotel, right? So when they meet, they hit it off pretty quickly and they take it upstairs to Paul's hotel room, and the rest is history. 2 months later, there is a story going around about a man wanted for a series of sexual assaults, and his attacks always followed the same pattern. The man was also described as a white male with blonde hair and blue eyes, giving off that boy next door look. So automatically, guys, I'm figuring that this has to be Paul, right? So anyway, let me not forget to mention that these crimes took place in Scarborough, a district of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Okay, guys? So now that we have these series of sexual assaults going on, the suspect has been called the Scarborough Tapist with an R, okay? You get my gist. We learn from the victims that the suspect stalks them first, and he learns their coming and goings, watches them through their windows, etc., and then he struck at an opportune time. Meanwhile, we learn that Paul and Carla became close really fast. And I think it's important to mention that during their budding romance, Paul was 23 and Carla was only 17. To me, that's a red flag right there, and I'm already guessing that because of their age difference, Paul was able to heavily influence Carla, good or bad. Okay, guys, so fast forwarding to 1989, we hear that the Scarborough Tapist is still on the prowl and has struck again. We're hearing that he likes to attack young teenage girls and not much older than that. We also hear that he broke one of the victim's arms by stepping on it. Also, the suspect went above and beyond during his attacks and used various methods of penetration. This included penetrating his victims with his penis, fingers, and even a stick or with a knife. Penetration involved vaginal, anal, and oral, okay? He just did whatever he could to be demeaning and vicious, all right? Now, of course, these victims were damaged both physically and mentally. And it's just a shame that they had to suffer such a heinous act, all right? Also, to prove how sick this guy was, I want to mention that he also had the victims tell him they loved him, all right? On top of that, he ripped out the hair of his victims and collected it as a souvenir. Now, this was either pubic hair or head hair. And he also always took their ID. Next, we find out that Paul lived in Scarborough and Carla lived in St. Catharines. So he had to drive an hour and a half to go see Carla. We find out that Paul was respected by Carla's parents and they weren't bothered by the fact that he was older, a lot older than her, okay? After a few months, Paul was allowed to spend the night at Carla's house and share her bed. By May of 1990, the 8th victim is attacked and she gets a good look at her attacker, unlike the other victims. So she's able to sit down with the Scarsboro police artist, and a drawing is developed that gives police an idea of who they're looking for. Plus, his picture makes front page headlines, guys. Police also decide that they will take a DNA sample of every suspect they bring in. But unfortunately, they have no success finding the suspect, and just like that, the attacks stop. Now, if you ask me, guys, I think that releasing his photo to the media was a big mistake. I feel this way because I think it pretty much alerted him and caused the Scarsboro tapist to go into hiding. All right. Okay, guys. So now it's been 5 months since the last attack in Scarsboro, and we find out that Paul has moved in with Carla and her parents. Then we hear from a coworker of Carla's that Paul was controlling. He would tell Carla that she couldn't do this or that and had to leave work on time and when she was told. So now it's Christmas time and Paul is celebrating with Carla and her family. It's their first Christmas together, right? So Carla's younger sister Tammy has a couple of drinks that night. She was only 15 years old, guys, but her parents said that she could have a couple of drinks and not overdo it. And I'm just thinking to myself, what is going on with these parents? Like, they allow a 23-year-old man to date their 17-year-old daughter, and now they're okaying their 15-year-old daughter to drink? So anyway, Paul was responsible for giving Tammy a few drinks that night, including this drink that she really wanted to try. Next thing you know, a thud is heard because Tammy passed out. She was eventually pronounced dead due to choking on her vomit. This was really sad to hear, guys, and, the family just chalked it up to a tragic accident. But Paul, he never wanted to talk about the situation and wanted to keep it on the hush because he was the one that gave Tammy alcohol. So now, guys, about a month after Tammy's death, Paul and Carla moved out of Carla's parents' house into this beautiful house in another part of St. Catharines. Carla's coworker stated that she knew Paul had money, but she just didn't know where he was getting it from. But anyway, when they moved into this house, they began to capture almost everything they did on a video camera. A family friend also stated that this is also where Paul started to prep and mold Carla, right? Convincing her that he was pretty much the end all be all. Next, it's now 1 year after the last Scarsboro attack, and somewhere in Burlington, a 14-year-old girl named Leslie Mahaffey was reported missing after she told her friends that she was on her way home after hanging out with them all night, late into the night, okay? The story is that she was a troubled teen who returned home only to find that her mother had locked her out. So Leslie goes to a payphone to call a friend to see if she could spend the night, but the answer is no. It was assumed that she might have tried to go back home to see if somebody opened the door, but no one knows what happened after that, right? But many people thought that Leslie just ran away and her disappearance was downplayed, unfortunately. So 2 weeks after Leslie's disappearance, Carla and Paul get married in this big, extravagant, over-the-top wedding, right? And the question was raised as to how they could get married so shortly after Tammy's death. Remember, Tammy is or was Carla's little sister, right? So the answer to that was a quote from Paul in which he said, "The show must go on." Now, at this point, guys, I have seen enough red flags coming from this guy, Paul, and his insensitivity to Tammy's death is definitely one of them, right? Also, at this point, I don't know if he's the Scarsboro tapist, but I'm almost certain that he is, right? I mean, come on, otherwise, why are they talking about it? And they have so many strange connections. All of a sudden, we know that he's from Scarsboro, right? We hear about all these sexual assaults going on, these attacks. Then all of a sudden, when a picture hits the media, Paul up and moves in with his girlfriend. So, I mean, come on, it's definitely a connection, right? But anyway, I'm just interested to see how Paul gets Carla involved in committing these terrible crimes with him. We already see that he's controlling and he's got her out of her parents' house. So now it's just a matter of time until he amps up the manipulation tactics. Okay, moving on. So meanwhile, As Paul and Carla enjoy their wedding festivities, human remains are found 18 miles away in Lake Gibson. The remains were found and reported by a man who was fishing on what he thought was a beautiful day, but soon turned tragic. Now, at Paul and Carla's wedding, people are seeing this on the news and they're talking about the situation, right? And they're saying that this crime had to have been committed from someone outside of the area, because everyone in the area knows that every year, halfway through the summer, Lake Gibson drops 3 to 5 feet. So disposing of something during that time will be found. Unfortunately, guys, this turns out to be Leslie's remains, which were identified using dental records. It's just so sad, guys, and to see how it still affects the man who found her remains and the police media guy. To this day, it affects them, right? And it just makes it even sadder to me. And guys, this was a tragedy and it rocked the community. Leslie was considered a popular girl at school and well liked, so people were definitely affected. Also, crimes like this were strange to these residents because these cities were known to be safe. All right, guys, next, 9 months after Leslie's murder, another teenage girl was abducted from the front lawn of a church while walking home from school. This young lady was 15 years old and her name was Kristen French. So, guys, at this point, I'm just thinking, what have I gotten myself into? This stuff is just way too disturbing and way too sad. So, anyway, guys, there was evidence left at the scene and there were witnesses all over the place, right? Witnesses that stated there were 2 abductors involved in taking Kristen. So the community rallied together and formed a search party that included 2,200 people. But unfortunately, guys, Kristen's body was found 2 weeks later in the woods. Unlike Leslie, her body was intact, but her hair was cut, and a Mickey Mouse watch and a piece of jewelry was missing. So at this point, investigators believed that Leslie and Kristen's death were definitely connected and committed by the same person. Next, a friend of the family tells a story of a day when he went to Paul and Carla's house and Carla served him a drink and placed it in his hand. But Paul backhanded Carla and roughed her up for not serving their guests a drink on a silver platter. This is when we learn that Paul physically abused Carla often. And her former co-worker also said that Carla was always trying to explain away her bruises. By the end of this episode, we hear about Carla going to the police and telling them that her husband Paul killed Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French. The police say that at this time, she was beat up really bad, right, guys? But guys, listen to this. As Carla tells the police that her husband killed those 2 girls, she also lets it be known that he videotaped the crimes. Now, the episode ends with the video recording of Carla saying she wants Paul to be put away for good and to rot in jail. She says death is too easy. And that was the first episode, guys. I believe in episode 2, we will find out how involved she was in these murders. Okay, guys, so before I leave, I just want to let you know that I understand that this is really tough and it's not the ideal content, right? But when we watch these documentaries, we can possibly learn a few things, like hopefully look for red flags in people like Paul Bernardo. Also, not allowing our children to go places alone. Now, there was also a situation where the co-worker of Carla was saying that Paul used to be coming up to the job, making small conversations with her. And then he started to get a little bit more personal, asking questions about her and her boyfriend and things of that nature. And then also trying to invite her out with him and Carla. At this time, if we know that they were doing crimes together, this could have also been a tactic to lure Carla's coworker and eventually harm her and kill her as well. So thankfully, she decided that no, she wasn't interested. And she said that she always made excuses for reasons why she couldn't hang out with them. All right. Okay, guys. Now, there are only 4 episodes in this series, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish what I started and bring the recaps for the remaining episodes, all right? If you are interested in watching the documentary, it's on Max, Or you can just wait till I upload the next video because I plan to be as detailed as possible. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Until next time, you guys take care and be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.